I'm making this video just because I've been reading, I've been watching an episode from the interview room. There are quite a few bits of information here and there that are not quite correct in the video, which I'll go through in another video. Or maybe I should add it onto this one, I don't know. But then I'm looking through the comments and there's people putting information in there that's not correct. And somebody was saying that EMS went in for an unconscious person and the police arrived eventually. But that's not the case. Not according to Brian Nickerson, the fire chief of the Moscow Fire and EMS department. He said police were the first to arrive at the home. The first responders from the fire and EMS department didn't go inside or transport anyone from the scene. I'm going to repeat that. Brian Nickerson, the fire chief of the Moscow Volunteer Fire and EMS department, said police were the first to arrive at the home. The first responders from the fire and EMS department didn't go inside or transport anyone from the scene. And there's information in this, it's an interesting video to watch actually. And there are things that, a few things here and there that I wasn't aware of. And sort of it's interesting to hear some of the considerations. But there's things that have been out in Lana from TNT ages ago had talked about extreme networks, the laptop, it being Kaylee's laptop, and they're just sort of discovering things that were discovered so long ago, and it just really grinds my gears that content creators or YouTubers like Lana and others are dismissed and belittled because they don't have a professional qualification, when they have found out some things that were not, that people like this guy who's an ex-homicide detective hadn't found out prior to this, and are acting as if they found out something new. Kind of really rubs me up the wrong way. People who are internet sleuths, I mean, not all, but there are some people who they're just amazing researchers. Some people are amazing researchers, and some people are like bloodhounds and just, keep digging. And it's to do with tenacity, really. And it doesn't always take having been trained as a homicide detective to find out some of this information. It's just about being tenacious, really. But yeah, according to Brian Nickerson, fire and EMS didn't go in at all, according to this. That's what I'm taking from it, unless they're saying they didn't go in initially, but that's not what it says here. It says they didn't go in, and they didn't transport anyone out. But what's interesting is this. For immediate release, Kathy Mabbott, Latah County Coroner. Date of release, the 17th of November. Date of pronounced death, right? So 13th at 12 noon. But who pronounced it then? Because it's saying that Kathy Mabbott pronounced it, but she said she didn't go there until, what was it? It was after Brett Payne, wasn't it? was it 5 p.m. she said? Around 5, I think she said. So who pronounced the death at noon? Because it wasn't EMS, so it was presumably a police officer. So they can pronounce death, and if so, why isn't their name on here? I would have thought it had to be the person's name who pronounced the death. Strange. I mean, I don't know if it's strange. It seems strange to me. What do you think? So, Googling Brian Nickerson, I'm coming up with some interesting information. One thing is a huge shortage of EMTs in the area. If you think about that weekend, it was a football weekend. There, I even heard an ambulance on the grub truck video. Like, there could have been lots of call-outs. It's interesting to me, some of this stuff is the dispatch team were short. They were short on EMTs and they arrived after the police. And also, it's believed there was an issue with the Wi-Fi, which could have affected the use of cell phones in the house. I would be really interested to know if that 911 call is being hidden. Very interested to know. So this article is all about just the lack of EMTs in the area. The problem's a national issue, but has increased for local departments within the last 5 years. And apparently, because they're all volunteers. I can't even believe they're all volunteers. That's mental. There's roughly 20% increase in call volume. And so these volunteers have to be called out of work. And apparently employers are less keen to let their employees out of work. And it seems like there's some connection with fraternities and sororities. I mean, I don't know what it is, but here we go. So in March, Moscow Volunteer Fire Department presented with Community Partner of the Year Award. They're always so incestuous, isn't it? On Wednesday, the Moscow Volunteer Fire Department attended the University of Idaho Fraternity and Sorority Life Banquet, where they were presented with the Community Partner of the Year Award for 2022. It was an honour to attend such an event and see the hard work done behind the scenes by all the fraternities and sororities that support the students and broader community, said MVFD Fire Chief Brian Nickerson. But it makes you wonder, actually, the fact that they've got this Brian Nickerson, because this is on several media websites. They've got the same Brian Nickerson, the fire chief of the Moscow Police Department, volunteer fire and EMS department, said police were the first to arrive on the scene and stressing that they didn't go in. I mean, is this all to do with they don't want anyone to know that they went in? Did they compromise the scene and this is just getting ahead of the game? Getting in there first? Interesting. I mean, it's repeated over and over. Makes you wonder. I remember this on TNT and I had not realised that it was literally a month before the murders. So if you watched this episode of TNT regarding different things that happened with fraternities and different, just the local area, accidents and things. And this is 4 students were injured after structure collapses at University of Idaho Fraternity. Interesting. So, shall we see if we can watch the video?
Welcome to the news at 10. A fraternity event gone wrong. University of Idaho's Phi Kappa Tau chapter is in some hot water.
After fraternity members held a party Saturday night where a platform they built collapsed and sent 4 people to the hospital. Abby Davis spoke with a student who was there. Abby?
That's right. This student is a junior at U of I, and I asked her if alcohol played a role in the structure collapsing. And Anais Erb says it's honestly just too hard to tell, but that she hopes students are more careful in the future. Saturday night didn't turn out like University of Idaho junior Anais Erb planned.
It was just really just chaotic all at once because no one was really expecting it to happen.
What happened? A raised platform collapsed, injuring 4 people. It was built by U of I Phi Kappa Tau fraternity members.
It's like an every year tradition that they have.
Here's what they built in 2017.
You can climb up like using like a structure they build kind of to climb up onto it. It's like a little lookout area basically. I think people just kept climbing up when everyone was trying to get them to come down, and it was just at max capacity.
And people were trying to get them down because they
Yes.
recognized that there were too many people on there.
Because I went up there because I thought, I wanted to see what it looked like. It looked fine. And they immediately kicked me off. And then once that happened, like 5 minutes after, it fell down and they were still trying to get people down.
And that was fraternity brothers trying to regulate the situation.
Probably just trying to have like some risk management.
Moscow volunteer fire chief Brian Nickerson says the platform that collapsed was 6 or 7 feet tall. First responders arrived at the scene around 11:30 p.m. Erb says at least 30 people were standing on the platform when it collapsed. Some people were underneath.
The men in the fraternity were trying to get everyone who wasn't injured or wasn't involved in it at all to leave property immediately and like get out of the situation so no one else got hurt, and to get to the people who were injured.
Nickerson told KTVB first responders took the 4 injured people to Gritman Medical Center. One person was later flown to another hospital nearby because of severe injuries. University administration say they are, quote, working with the injured students' parents and are trying to better understand the situation. I also reached out to U of I's Interfraternity Council and the Phi Kappa Tau fraternity, but did not hear back. As a member of the Greek community herself, Erb says she's hoping for better risk management in the future.
When someone tells you something, it's probably for your safety, not because they're not trying to make you have fun, That's definitely a lesson for a lot of people, I think, is making sure there are those extra safety steps and just having them in place and prepare for the worst almost.
Yeah, Abby, as we watch this story,
Interesting. And the other interesting thing that I noticed, because I can remember something that Reed Ofson said. I'll find it in a moment.
Anyone know where they were during that timeline? Like there's still this big chunk where...
As of right now, we've told Moscow PD, Idaho State Police, and the FBI all we know. We're kind of leaving it up to them to piece it together. Obviously, we don't have the utilities or resources to do it on our own, so we're just putting full faith in the officers and in the detectives doing it. But that's all I really know right now.
The fraternity said they are conducting a parallel investigation as well. It's interesting, isn't it? Because they're a big organisation. And another interesting thing is that the Pi Beta Phi, are now, since 2022, they are under Fraternity Housing Corporation. I don't know when in 2022. It just says since 2022. I went on the Pi Beta Phi website and it's got all different... I was looking at the housing, interested in sorority housing, and it got sororities from Pi Beta Phi sororities from all over the country. And the Idaho one said, and it said when some of them were under FHC, Fraternity Housing Corporation. And I was like, what's FHC? So I look it up and I'm like, right. And it said different years that they've been under FHC since whatever year, 2017, whatever, 2022 it says for them. So I was kind of interested in that. Because I'm sort of interested in if there may have been, and you're going to have to bear with me on this one because I'm not going to be able to fully explain why I think this in this video, why I wonder this. If there's a targeting of fraternities, if it's like the opposite of what it seems, and it's kind of been made to look like they are responsible, because basically, you know, like at the same time, we have that shooting in UVA, which was 3 fraternity members. And there's more to it than that, which I'm going to come to in another video. But I'm going to leave it at that for now, because I know people are gunning for the fraternities. And you can, less said about that the better, because I know how strongly people feel about it. First and foremost, our concern is for the individuals who were injured. They're not named, though. I don't think. 4 people injured. No names. Interesting. This is unrelated, but it's just unbelievable, so I just have to tell you. 30 injured in Clemson University fraternity building collapse. What the fuck? Excuse my français, but I just cannot believe it. This was in 2018. What the hell? They were dancing when the floor gave way. Some victims suffered critical injuries. Highlighting how dangerous floor collapses and building collapses are, as if we didn't know that. Well, this highlights it. I'm glad we realise that now. What the hell? What? Shortly after midnight on Sunday, October the 31st, it all happens at this time of year, doesn't it? The clubhouse dance floor gave way, sending partygoers plummeting into a basement and sending the clubhouse into chaos. I bet it did. Madness. My God. Everyone was jumping. Oh my God. I thought it said there was a trampoline there. Partygoers described dancing on the clubhouse floor and suddenly falling before blacking out. Others said they were surrounded by people who were covered with blood and crying. Jalen Adams told CNN the floor suddenly felt like a trampoline, and he told his friends they should get outside. Before they made it to safety, the floor collapsed. So everyone was jumping, said Clemson University sophomore. Why were they jumping? The beat was about to drop and literally the whole floor collapsed. That's absolutely insane. According to Clemson's Director of Planning and Codes, Todd Stedman, the clubhouse's upstairs floor had a posted occupancy of 135 people. Stedman told USA Today that officials would review security camera footage to determine how many people were upstairs when the floor collapsed. it was literally built in 2005, right? Building inspectors approved the construction, no, built in 2004 and opened in 2005, and this is 2018, isn't it? Before the floor collapsed, the police did not receive any complaints about the party. Why do they need to say that? It makes you think, well, were there complaints? I feel like when they add something in that's slightly unnecessary, it makes me start to wonder if the reverse is actually the case. Joe Galbraith, Associate Vice President for Strategic Communications at Clemson University, said it was not unusual for fraternities to host events at off-campus facilities. It's also not unusual for fraternities to have annexes and satellite buildings, so an extra building. And I do wonder if there is a bit of a cover-up. It's one of my wonders if there's a cover-up with this case, made to look like people were living there when it was actually maybe a fraternity house. That's a bit of a wild card there. But there is something that's being kept quiet about this, isn't there? We can all agree on that. And whatever is the case with this whole thing, there is not... It's impossible to say that an explanation's too wild, because there's clearly something very... 4 people were allegedly stabbed to death. EMS were not allowed to go into the building. The coroner signs them off as... tiredness. Signs them off as dead. I can't think of the term, sorry. It's just gone. You know what I'm talking about. At 12 o'clock, even though she wasn't there. There's just too many weird things with it. So there's no explanation that's too wild. It's like, it's all up for grabs. Honestly, I just think that it makes your mind run wild, because the explanation, even the explanations that we're being given are wild explanations. So it's just something weird going on with the whole thing. So one positive thing that I would say about this, and this is something that I've pointed out in a previous video, exactly what he says here, and I started to feel like the boy in the Emperor's New Clothes, and not for the first time with this case, because I thought I've done a video on probable cause affidavits, because this so-called PCA does not look like or read like other PCAs. And I thought, what the hell is going on here? Like I said, I did a video. It wasn't particularly popular. Nobody really wanted to know about it. Really strange that this hasn't been brought up by anybody else, I think. But this guy does bring it up, and he's right. If you look at the Pennsylvania one, it's different. This is an affidavit. An affidavit is a statement, and you can have affidavits for all sorts of things, not just crimes. But listen to what he says. He doesn't refer to it as an affidavit. He refers to it as an exhibit. So
can find all the documents. This is listed as the affidavit. Well, first thing first, friends, this is an exhibit. Exhibit A. It is not the affidavit. They're hiding the affidavit. And I want to show you one other thing to prove my point. This one shows in order number, it is hereby ordered number 1, the affidavit in support of the search warrant is sealed. So what they did is a bait and switch for the public. And they pushed out information that was just enough to show the public that we made an arrest. And that is Exhibit A. And part of that reason will probably be why, what Karen's going to say here, why it occurred. Hang on, let me pull that back up again.
Yeah, pop that back up.
And what?
So we can take a look.
And what she says is all about Brett Payne. So I don't know that is the reason, I think. So it's interesting to look at the Pennsylvania one, which I have actually uploaded onto YouTube. So I'm not going to play all of it, but if you just listen to this beginning bit, this is how they go. They talk about that there's specific legal language that you'll find in all of them, and it's all about you're affiant. They're always going on about you're affiant.
Your affiant is Trooper Justin M. Larry of the Pennsylvania State Police, Stroudsburg Station Criminal Investigation Unit. Since 2009, I have served as a detective with the Lackawanna County District Attorney's Office, a special agent with the Pennsylvania Office of Attorney General, a Task Force co-officer with the Federal Bureau of Investigation, and currently as a trooper with the Pennsylvania State Police, Troop and Vice Unit. Throughout my career, I have conducted hundreds of criminal investigations, including numerous homicide investigations. Your affiant is Trooper Brian V. Knoll of the Pennsylvania State Police, Troop and Criminal Investigation Assessment Officer. I have been employed with the Pennsylvania State Police since 2008 and assigned as a criminal investigator since 2012. I have been assigned as the Criminal Investigation Assessment Officer since 2019. Throughout my career, I have conducted...
And the paperwork is very specific. You can't see the top of the paperwork here, but there's a certain kind of paperwork that's filled out. There's none, not one that I've seen that says Exhibit A or Exhibit anything on the top of it. That it's really, and the way it's kind of set out, I mean, look how tiny this writing is. It's almost as if they deliberately set it out like that for, I'm not saying it's not the affidavit of Brett Payne. There's a few different ones because it depends what it is that they want, whether it's a search warrant, whether it's an arrest warrant. It's going to vary, but there's stuff missing, and it's this bit, the introductory bit here, because you can attach several affidavits to one probable cause affidavit. Like, they are bits of information to support the arrest or to support the request for a search warrant. And here's an example of a PCA filed the 20th of October 2022. It's in Maryland. And it's for cyberstalking. So look how it's all set out. And they're not all exactly the same, but they are somewhat like this. And you've seen lots of paperwork, different motions, and they're not that dissimilar from this. Okay, so we've got the defendants at the top in the matter of the searches of the premises located at 2893 Schoolhouse Circle, Silver Spring, Maryland. The person of Jason Liedl and the person of Sarah Elizabeth Sorg. And we hear that in the Pennsylvania probable cause affidavit. The person of Brian Koberger is to be searched. Okay, so, and I guess that's because you can put a mobile phone in your pocket. Number, oh no, it's not number, oh, sorry, it's I, and there's something on my phone which I need to scratch off. Kevin Kuo, affidavit in support of a criminal complaint and applications for search warrants. Kevin Kuo, a special agent with the FBI, being duly sworn, state the following. Introduction and agent background. This affidavit is submitted in support of a criminal complaint and arrest warrant, as well as applications pursuant to Rule 41. I mean, look at this. Legal shiz. Of the Federal Rules of Criminal Procedure for warrants authorising the search of the following locations. The premises known as, I'll let you read that for yourself, further described in attachment A to I? Does that say A to I think. Here too, I mean, listen to the legal speak. Old-fashioned, old English speak. Here too, for the things described in attachment B. No, is this A1 and B1? Yeah. And B, the person of Jason Liedl, born in, redacted, 1980. Further described in attachment A2. So I think Exhibit A is like attachment A. And residing at the target premises for electronic evidence as further described at attachment B. B1 even. Buccal or oral swabs in sufficient quantity for scientific testing as it relates to DNA, as further described at attachment B2A. The person of Sarah Elizabeth Sorg, born in 1979, further described in attachment A3, and residing at the target premises. This is more like it, isn't it? Electronic evidence as further described at attachment B1, and buccal, or do they call it buccal or buccal? Buccal swab, is it? Buccal or oral swabs in sufficient quantities for scientific testing as it relates to DNA as further described at attachment B2B. I submit, pursuant to the facts set forth in this affidavit, that there is probable cause to believe that Jason Liedl and Sarah Sorg have committed the following violations of federal law. So A, conspiracy to commit cyberstalking. B, aggravated identity theft. C, fraud in relation to protected computer. And D, another form of cyberstalking. Oh no, one's conspiracy to commit it and one is actually committing it. And the evidence, fruits and or instrumentalities of these offences will be found in the target location and on their persons. I'm a special agent with the FBI. He hasn't referred to himself as the affiant yet. I'm surprised. And have been since June 2016. I have been assigned to the FBI Baltimore Cyber Task Force in Baltimore, Maryland. And I'll let you read any of that. Pause it if you want to read all his credentials and all his training there. Pause if you would like to read that. And the facts set forth in this affidavit are based upon my personal knowledge and knowledge obtained during my participation in this investigation, including my review of documents related to this investigation, communication with others who have personal knowledge of the events and circumstances described herein, and information gained through my training and experience. This affidavit does not contain all of the information known to me regarding this investigation. I think it's good that he adds that in. I have included in this affidavit facts that I believe are sufficient to support a probable cause finding for the issuance of the requested criminal complaint, arrest warrant and search warrants, but I do not purport to include each and every matter of fact observed or known to me or other law enforcement agents involved in this investigation. Right. I might leave this for another video. I'm going to add this into the comments, pin it in the comments. You can have a look at it if you want to. I might talk about it in another video. It's 106 pages. I mean, look at that for a probable cause affidavit. So there we go.
In this dark night, it's too hard for me to say now if the rays of hope will shine again someday, and if I might be spared as the tempest starts to swell. At this point, it's just too dark to tell. Was the stars guiding me to God's shores now? Was the devil set me drifting once more? Will these clouds ever lift and the map again reveal? At this point, it's just too dark to tell. If these green-eyed blues would lighten up, if my nature would shake this wicked spell, if this midnight sky would brighten up, if my ears could hear a voice saying, all will be well, then all is well, all is well. I once was found, now again I'm lost. On merciless waves I am tossed. I would tell you of His grace and how it was I fell, but some tales are just too dark to tell. If these green-eyed blues would lighten up, if my nature would shake this wicked spell, if this midnight sky would brighten up, if my ears could hear a voice saying, all will be well, then all is well, all is well. I once was found, now again I'm lost. On merciless waves I am tossed. I would tell you of His grace and how it was I fell, but some tales are just too dark to tell. tell. In this dark night, it's too hard for me to say now if the rays of hope will shine again someday, and if I might be spared as the tempest starts to swell. At this point, it's just too dark to tell. Was the stars guiding me to God's shores now? Was the devil set me drifting once more? Will these clouds ever lift and the map again reveal? At this point, it's just too dark to tell. If these green-eyed blues would lighten up, if my nature would shake this wicked spell, if this midnight sky would brighten up, if my ears could hear a voice saying, all will be well, then all is well, all is well. I once was found, now again I'm lost. On merciless waves I am tossed. I would tell you of His grace and how it was I fell, but some tales are just too dark to tell. If these green-eyed blues would lighten up, if my nature would shake this wicked spell, if this midnight sky would brighten up, if my ears could hear a voice saying, all will be well, then all is well, all is well. I once was found, now again I'm lost. On merciless waves I am tossed. I would tell you of His grace and how it was I fell, but some tales are just too dark to tell.